Let me say first good morning and just say how great it is to be home for a day. And thank you. It's been a rough month in Washington, D.C., but I want to thank you for your steadfast commitment to peace and justice, and thank you for being here with us today. Thank you for continuing to fight the good fight, because you know what? Washington, D.C. is hearing you. So thank you so much. And I want to thank my friend and colleague, Supervisor Keith Carson, for consistently stepping up to the plate, for consistently looking out for the most vulnerable on the County Board of Supervisors, because you know he has been dealt a terrible hand by the federal government. He has been dealt a hand as a fact of this war, the billions and billions and billions of dollars, and the tax cuts. Here, Keith Carson has to establish priorities for what's left. And I tell you, Keith, I want to thank you very much for always making sure that you look out for the least of these. So give Keith a round of applause. Well, as you know, as I said, it's been a tough time in Washington, D.C. As we've struggled to craft a legislative response to the Bush administration's attempts to escalate this disastrous occupation of Iraq. And his failed policies have led us through 4 years, and this is a very solemn occasion of bloodshed and billions in taxpayer dollars. And Keith, thank you for reminding us of what this is really all about. We can't afford to spend one more dime, or lose one more American or Iraqi life. This is an illegal, immoral, and unwinnable civil war and occupation, and we should not spend any more money on it. Our panelists will talk a little bit more about this in a minute, but I want to first introduce you to a very special guest, a close friend, and most importantly, a tireless advocate for peace and justice. Sean Penn is known for his outstanding work as an actor, having received an Oscar for his stunning performance. And you may remember Mystic River, stunning performance. Thank you, Sean. Unbelievable. A Golden Globe and many other recognitions. But he's also known for his lifelong dedication to social justice and peace. Also, Sean has a deep concern for our country and its role in the world, as well as his compassion for other human beings. As many of you may remember, Sean has traveled personally to Iraq and to Iran in the last few years to witness what the people of those countries are going through and to bring their story to a wider international audience. He has been steadfast in terms of his support for a national and international effort to end the occupation of Iraq and to prevent United States preemptive strikes against Iran. He's been in the lead on that. And Sean has written about this in Time magazine and the San Francisco Chronicle and Rolling Stones and in other media outlets and magazines to really try to wake America up. He's using his brilliant artistic genius on behalf of humankind. His leadership has been recognized by distinguished organizations such as the Creative Coalition, and he continues to reach out and provide support throughout the growing, and it is growing, anti-war movement in this country. Sean is on a very tight schedule this morning and can only be with us for a few minutes today. So without further ado, I am, first of all, pleased and honored to have Sean with us today, once again in the 9th Congressional District. But also, I just want to say to you, Sean, we owe you a debt of gratitude, because you don't have to do this with your life. You could do other things. So welcome. Give Sean Penn a 9th Congressional District round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you. They make us do too much reading these days. I'd like to begin by thanking Congresswoman Barbara Lee for asking me here today, and more importantly, for her consistent integrity and courage in a House nearly void of either. And watching that little piece of film we just saw, it's going to be an easy answer for me, as that lasts through the legacy and archives of our children's generation. What's a hero? I can just point to that for my children. Now, generally, when I'm asked to speak about my concerns for our country to groups of people, those groups have tended to be dominated by people of like minds and concerns. And in that, I've always felt a bit awkward. I believe there is a time to preach to the choir, if one is such a dynamic speaker as to successfully put hands to will. But for myself, it remains a bit awkward. 4.5 years ago, I addressed the issue of war in an open letter to our president. Today, I'd like to again speak to he and his directly. Mr. President, Mr. Cheney, Ms. Rice et al. Indeed, America has a rich history of greatness. Indeed, America is still today a devastating military superpower. And because in the absence of a competent or brave Congress or a mobilized citizenry, that level of power lies in your hands. It is you who have misused it to become our country's and our Constitution's most devastating enemy. You have broken our country, and you have broken our hearts. The needless blood on your hands, and therefore on our own, is drowning the freedom, the security, and the dream that America might have been once healed of and awakened by the tragedy of September 11th, 2001. But now, we are encouraged to self-censor any words that might be perceived as inflammatory, if our belief is that this war should stop today. We cower as you point your fingers, telling us to support our troops. Well, you and the smarmy pundits in your pocket, those who bathe in the moisture of your soiled and blood-soaked underwear, can take that noise and shove it. Because we will be snowed no more. Now, let's make this crystal clear. We do support our troops in our stand, while you exploit them and their families. The verdict is in. You lied, connived, and exploited your own countrymen, and most of all, our troops. You, Mr. Bush and Cheney, you, Ms. Rice, are villainously and criminally obscene people. Obscene human beings, incompetent even to fulfill your own self-serving agenda, while tragically neglectful and destructive of ours and our country's. And I've got a question for your daughters, Mr. Bush. They're not children anymore. Do they support your policy in Iraq? If they do, how dare they not be in uniform? While the children of the poor, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, and all other American working men and women are slaughtered, maimed, and flown back into this country under cover of darkness. Now, because I've been on the streets of Baghdad during this occupational war, outside